Hello everybody and welcome back to HoundClan. Also, Happy New Year! I'm actually recording this on New Year's Eve. Definitely not going to come out anytime near that probably closer to February. Who knows? We'll find out. And you know what they say, new year, new ClanGen drama. If you're new here or need a refresher, I've left a link to the HoundClan playlist in the description, as well as a link to the HoundClan family tree, which should be up to date by the time this video goes up. This is year 7, which, despite my hopes that these poor cats would get a break, is a doozy of a year. We got animatics, we got drama, we got chaos, of course. All that and more is waiting just around the corner, so let's get started by talking about the cats we lost this year. Our first death was the 22-moon-old spotted stripe, which I expected, but it's still sad. They died of red cough on the first moon of the year, but I take a bit of relief in knowing that they weren't alone when they passed. She had her mom with her, and Daisy Spike was promising to look out for her, even in StarClan. She watched over her own vigil, which hurt to see, but I think she made peace with the fact she was going to die soon after developing red cough, as she had been adjusting to StarClan really well. She's been telling stories to the kits, gossiping with other cats like Sandy Mask, and has been spending lots of time with Sleek Jumble and Gentleheart, and when she's not doing that, she's watching over the clan. She is very proud of her mother and her clanmates. There are some things she's worried about, but mostly she seems at peace, and I'm relieved about that. Up next is Flower Patch, who died at 164 moons old. She was enjoying her retirement quite a bit, using it to take walks, spend time with her grandson, as well as her fellow old lady friends for Star and Plumeria. She also took lots of naps. It's nice to see her so relaxed. After a few moons, she went out on a walk and was found dead, but with a peaceful expression on her face. I think she knew her time had come, and part of her was worried that despite her efforts to change, she would still go to the Dark Forest. But her family appeared before her in those final moments and guided her all the way to StarClan. She was surprised, but then so happy that she finally got to see all her loved ones again, especially Dove Prance. She spent most of her time with them. However, she can't find it in herself to settle down, as her concerns about the Dark Forest are weighing on her mind. And she's also incredibly worried about cats like Shivering Fade and Cinder Creek. She's hoping to meet with a healer soon, or perhaps with one of the cats she knows has Dark Forest affinities similar to hers. She knows more than any cat just how dangerous and powerful Dark Forest cats can be, and she wants more than anything to ensure any plans they have cannot come to fruition. Up next is sadly Weevilpaw, who died at only 9 moons old. She was doing an excellent job in her training. She excelled in both battle training and healing, and really just looked up to her grandma and mentor, Firstar, and even gifted her some orange poppies, which is just so adorable. She turned out to have quite a troublesome streak, though, including playing pranks and sneaking out of camp to go on adventures, sometimes alone, sometimes with other apprentices. However, these adventures ended when she and some of the apprentices were overheard discussing their plans. Despite being confined to camp as punishment, Weevilpaw still tried to convince other apprentices to sneak out with her, but nobody would budge, so she went on her own, and was ambushed by rogues, who took down a lone apprentice easily. She was horrified, and despite knowing she was in StarClan, it took several cats to help her calm down. Then fear turned to guilt, especially after Firstar lost a life while looking for her. She was very sad for a while, especially when her other siblings were having their warrior ceremonies, which she was watching. But her fellow StarClan cats have been helping cheer her up. They tell her stories, comfort her, and join her on many adventures throughout the StarClan territory. While she isn't completely okay yet, she's getting better, and I'm grateful for that. Up next, we have Snufkin and Wanderkit, who died at different times of the year, but I didn't have the heart to draw them separately. Let's start with Wanderkit, who died at 6 moons old, mere days before his apprenticeship ceremony. He was very excited and was always imagining what his warrior name would have been, and loved play fighting. He also seemed to have a crush on Carpkit, who he found very charming. Unfortunately, as he grew up, he seemed to grow weaker and weaker, running out of breath and energy quickly. Then he developed yellow cough. He was still playful and sweet to the end, and always thanked the healers for looking out for him, but his weakened immune system just couldn't fight off the yellow cough, and he died from it soon after. He wanted to comfort his sister and mother, devastated at the sight of their grief. He was even more devastated when Snufkin joined him in StarClan, but is still happy to be reunited with his mom. When he's not spending time with her, he spends a lot of time with the other mediators in StarClan, a position I think he would have loved to apprentice in if things had been different. As for the 94-moon-old Snufkin, she was quite busy at the beginning of the year. She had her 2 kits, but also enjoyed helping look out for all the kits, and had a lot of stories from her travels to keep them entertained. She was also sweet with other cats too, always willing to help apprentices catch up in training or share prey and nesting material. While she is very kind-hearted, she unfortunately has a tendency to think of others way before she thinks of herself, even if that means she gets hurt or is exhausted. Some cats found a way to help her relax though, as it turns out that Snufkin is quite the singer, and many cats, including her daughter, managed to get her to relax in small bursts by singing her favorite songs. However, after Wonderkit passed away, singing just hurt, and so she went right back to pushing herself further and further. Then, near the end of the year, a speeding car was about to hit Jinx, and Snufkin pushed the cat out of the way at the cost of her own life. She watched her own vigil, feeling incredibly guilty for leaving her daughter all alone, but also feeling no regret for saving the younger cat's life. At the very least, in StarClan, she seems to have finally learned how to relax and has found her singing voice once again, and spends her time either coming up with new songs, relaxing with Wonderkit, or watching over her daughter with pride. Up next is a death that's gonna hurt. It's the 151-moon-old Fur Star, who lost her final 2 lives this year. Initially, she was doing better. She had a talented apprentice and lots of grandkits to keep her busy. Introductions to the other clans also went really well, although Whisper Clan's stoic behavior wasn't something she was very certain about. She was motivated by her clanmates' smiles and knew she always had great friends she could confide in with Flower Patch, Daisy Spike, and Plumeria. But then Weevilpaw disappeared. When no cat knew where she was, Furstar joined the search for her lost apprentice, only to stumble upon the cooling body of her apprentice in the Rogues, who took advantage of the elderly Furstar being by herself and killed her too. She feels incredibly guilty for not being able to save Weevilpaw, but there's also a growing dread at the feeling that she was running out of time. With only 1 life left, Furstar spent the rest of the year doing her best to look out for her clan, as well as prepare her successor for the role. She suffered from constant nightmares and was also certain that she didn't have long left, something she only disclosed to a few cats. Her suspicion turned out to be true when there was a sudden flash flood and she spotted Snowypaw struggling to swim. Furstar was able to save him from drowning at the cost of her final life. She watches over her clan proudly from StarClan, where she is reunited with all her mates, friends, and family. While she knows she made mistakes and there were many things still uncertain, she's proud of how much HoundClan has grown since she first joined it, and is looking forward to seeing how they grow in the future in the paws of her successor. As for her successor, I think you have an idea of who that could be, so let's hop into an animatic right away. Ficklefeather followed Kestrel to the tide pools, which held the location of StarClan. In the middle of the pools, there sat one that always seemed to shine with the light of a full moon. This was the Moontide, a direct connection to StarClan itself. With a deep breath, Ficklefeather placed her paw within the pool, immediately caught off guard by the depth of it. She fell in, tumbling through the water and landing within StarClan itself. As she regained her bearings, she found herself surrounded by her loved ones, friends, and clanmates who have passed on. Billowhowl rushes forward, nuzzling her mate with an excited purr, before she presses her nose to her forehead. Energy surges through Ficklefeather's pelt as she receives a life for instincts. Billowhowl reassures Ficklefeather that she will always be watching over her and their family, and that she loves them all so much. Saplingcrest steps forward to give Ficklefeather a life for farsightedness. Ficklefeather grits her teeth as the life rushes into her. Cricketstalk, as chaotic as ever, waltzes up to his sister's side like a whirlwind, his fur sticking up in all angles. He gives the new leader a life for determination. Zinniaflip walks up to Ficklefeather, offering a life for confidence. He smiles and says the clan will do well under Ficklefeather's leadership. Gentleheart gazes at the lonesome leader with a deep sympathy as he approaches, sensing the weight of her solitude. Ficklefeather's eyes begin to well up as a life for certainty flows through her, a warm embrace that wards off the cold isolation, even if for a brief moment. The air grows crisp and brittle as Oakleaf, a feline known for her cold demeanor, draws near. Her gaze, as piercing as the winter moon, examines Ficklefeather with caution, giving a life for strength. Burnetshade approaches, a warm smile on her face. She offers a life for patience, whispering to take care of the clan the best Ficklefeather can. Lotusclaw steps forward and gives Ficklefeather a life for clear judgment. Ficklefeather grits her teeth as the life rushes in. Finally, Furstar steps forward. There's a pride in her gaze as she stares into Ficklefeather's eyes. She gives a life for leadership through the darkest times. Furstar hails Ficklefeather by her new name, Ficklestar, telling her that her old life is no more. She is granted guardianship of HoundClan and is told to use her new power wisely. The group of starry cats yowl Ficklestar's name in support. There you are! Fickle Star is our new leader. But we'll talk about her more when we get to the living cats. Unfortunately, we still have quite a few StarClan cats to go through. So let's continue on. Up next, we have Cloud, who died at 25 moons old. He continued to fit into HoundClan really well. He was thriving. He helped out all around camp, including tracking down herbs for the healers, which he seemed to have a bit of knowledge about. He also spent a lot of time with Otterburst, helping her adjust as she recovered, and helped encourage her to confess to her crush, which worked. He's very happy for them. His talent and enthusiasm led him to getting his own apprentice, Yellowpaw. Although they struggled a bit at first, they found their rhythm eventually, and he was excited to see his apprentice become a great warrior. Unfortunately, during a patrol, Cloud was attacked by a large dog. Willing to give his life to save his clan, he ran as far as he could for as long as he could, hoping he led the dog far enough away to keep everyone else safe as he died. StarClan was initially a bit overwhelming, especially with so many cats he'd only met or heard stories about, but he settled in. He loves exploring StarClan and spending time with the other cats, as well as looking after the clan. Though he wishes he could have spent more time with them all, he's grateful he can watch out for them, especially Otterburst, who he misses more than anyone but is also incredibly worried about. More on that later. Up next, we have some new arrivals that sadly weren't here that long, but I wanted to talk about them anyway, since they still were HoundClan members, even if only for a little bit. First up, we have Mitochondria, which is a name I love and wish could have been around for longer. She was 287 moons old, which is crazy, and she was insecure and a good fighter. She was about to be drowned in a lake by her two-leg when Cloud, Slopetwig, Floxheart, and their apprentices rescued her and brought her to the clan. She was shocked by the kindness the cat showed her, even when treating the smallest of her wounds. And while she was initially worried the clan cats would judge her, she found herself fitting in right away, laughing with Ivy Dusk and sharing tongues with many cats. She had quite a few pain-free months in HoundClan before passing away peacefully from old age. She seems to really miss the clan, as she was begging the cats of StarClan to send her back. But they comforted her and promised her that she would get to watch over everyone until they reunited, something that helped her a lot. She has settled into StarClan since then, enjoying the community of her clan and the peace of belonging. Up next is the 84-moon-old Teaselbelly, who was insecure and an eloquent speaker, and a den builder. She was found wounded by the Thunderpath by Hatchfox and Ezrapelt, who rushed her back to camp. Unfortunately, her wounds were too severe, and she passed away from her head damage mere days later. She's a little uncertain about all this and wishes she could have shown her gratefulness to the cats who gave her a comfortable place in her final moments, but for now, she seems content to rest in StarClan and look out for them as they did for her. Finally, we have the last new arrival this year, the 153-moon-old Begonia, who is gloomy, a good kid-sitter, and a good mediator. And if he looks familiar at all, that's because in-game his sprite looked so strikingly similar to Plumeria that I decided this is her long-lost dad. Fittingly enough, it was his grandson's patrol that found him wheezing by the Thunderpath after his two-leg abandoned him. The recognition between them was there, but it didn't really hit Begonia until he got to camp and saw his daughter again for the first time in so long. And although he died the next moon from his disease, he was able to find closure with his daughter and see her beautiful family. And although he wishes he could have spent more time with Plumeria, he is content to wait for her in StarClan, resting and looking after her and her beautiful family from the stars. We're still not out of StarClan, as the next death of the year was the 13-moon-old Wisteria Thrush, who was compassionate, a good swimmer, and incredibly clairvoyant. He was a bit of an odd kit, who sometimes got bullied by the others for things he said, which I think may have been his burgeoning clairvoyant powers. Despite this, he was always quick to defend and protect other cats, even when they were mean to him. He was apprenticed to Laurelflood and was purring so hard with excitement that he was shaking during his ceremony. On his first patrol, he spotted paw prints and got excited about possibly confronting a trespasser, only to realize they were his own paw prints. Oops. He does seem to have a tendency to leap before he thinks, like when he gathered red currants only to learn they weren't a useful herb, or when he ate a bunch of tansy and ended up with some pretty bad diarrhea for a bit. He did a lot of healer patrols, and you may be wondering why he was willing to do that and deal with Shivering Fade's attitude. Well, he could tell that his mentor had a huge crush on Shivering Fade, and was doing his best to be a wing cat for them, which worked eventually. Hooray! He also joined in one of the few apprentice-only patrols that actually went well, when they ran into a Grub Clan patrol and had a nice chat, though they still got in trouble when they got back. He was honored for his justice at his warrior ceremony and was looking forward to being a great warrior. However, during a patrol, storm clouds rolled in, and while his clairvoyance gave him enough time to yell a warning to his clanmates, he was swept away and drowned. In StarClan, he is not really doing well. He's incredibly sad, wishing he was still alive and yearning more than anything that their family could be together again, for more reasons than one. Up next, we have a doozy of a death in the form of the 2-moon-old Pebble Kit, who was noisy and a mossball hunter and the child of Shivering Fade and Laurel Flood. She was the loudest of her littermates and the most chaotic, always running around and playing games. The only time she seemed to sit still was when she was cloud watching, but that never lasted long. She loved her dads very much and paraded around the orange flowers they gifted her every day. However, the brightness and happiness she brought to the clan was snuffed out when she was murdered, with the culprit still unknown to the rest of the clan. In StarClan, she feels shaken and betrayed that a cat she trusted could do such a thing to her, and wishes more than anything she was still there with her siblings and dads. But the things she's witnessed from StarClan have left her feeling even more lost and conflicted. As for what she's seen and who was the one that killed this poor kitten, we'll get to that later. The 32-moon-old cedar mane is up next, and his death genuinely broke my heart because it means the last of the oak sapling kits is gone, and that's just so sad. Despite the sadness of last year, he was doing better initially. Not only was he helping out his clanmates and working hard on patrols, but he also got a new apprentice, Cartpaw. He worked hard with his apprentice and was very proud of their progress, and tried to be a great mentor by working through his nervousness, and impressed many cats with his bravery. He also helped out a new kitten this year when they were discovered to be hard of hearing, teaching them and their family how to sign. It was nice, and it helped him feel like Gentleheart was still there with him. However, he also seemed to be a bit distracted, and often uncertain, wondering if he wanted to remain a warrior when his apprentice was done training, or if he wanted to become a mediator. However, he didn't get a chance to decide before illness swept through the clan, and unfortunately he caught yellow cough, and didn't make it. On the bright side, he was able to see his apprentice become a warrior before the illness took his life. Although he is sad and he misses his clanmates and extended family, reuniting with his moms and all his siblings was the happiest he's been in a while. He missed them all so much. He is quite content where he is now, relaxing in StarClan with his family by his side and a clan to watch over from above. Up next is unfortunately another kit death. It's Peach Kit, who was 5 moons, quiet and confident with words. He is one of the kits of Otterburst and Muddlespeckle, and was quite the mama's boy, always snuggling with them whenever he could. He was also a very soft-spoken kit, not because he was shy, but more because he didn't like to talk unless he felt like he had something important to say. He enjoyed splashing in puddles and also spent a lot of time in the healer's den, enjoying carrying out little tasks for the healers and learning about herbs. He did find it a little weird how Otterburst would always check him for injuries or ask what herbs he used when he left the den, but he didn't mind the questions much. Unfortunately, much like Cedarmane, he also was caught in the sweep of illness through the clan and died from green cough not soon after. In StarClan, he has been adjusting well, excited to meet the cat named Cloud he heard so much about. However, he is also quite shaken by learning what his mother did soon after he died. He doesn't know what to think. It's so much for him to try and wrap his head around. Right now, all he can really manage to do is collect herbs in StarClan and try to process everything that happened in such a short time. Our final death of the year in StarClan, unfortunately, is the 42-moon-old Stoat Branch, who died in the very last moon of the year. Her year started out great. Not only had her family grown, but she got a new apprentice in the form of Snowy Paw. She worked hard on training him, as well as looking out for her own kiddos, but still found time to relax in sunspots or chat with her friends. The loss of Firstar was absolutely devastating to her, and she mourned the loss of her leader greatly. But she had a rock in the form of Duskfeather, who was always there for her. They were so adorable, and she always made sure to try and track down his favorite prey for him. It seemed they also wanted to expand their family, because soon after their kits became warriors, they announced another litter. She was excited, but the loss of Wisteria Thrush, before they could even have met their little siblings, was devastating. While still mourning her child, she had her next litter, but unfortunately, it didn't go smoothly. Despite Duskfeather and the healer's efforts, she knew she wasn't going to make it, gathering enough strength to name the kits and say goodbye before she passed away. And while she's so happy to see her family in StarClan again, she misses her mate and kits so much, wishing she could have had just a few extra days with them. But with Wisteria Thrush by her side, they will look out for their family and do their best to make sure they know that no matter what, they will always be watching over them. Oh, that was a lot of deaths, but we're not done yet. For the close listeners among you all, you may know exactly where we need to go for this one, but we can't go there yet. First, we have an animatic, along with a content warning for blood and cat death. Buckle up, everyone. Shivering Fade wandered sadly to his daughter's grave, carrying her favorite flowers with him. He set them down and sat down by the grave. Although Laurelflood liked to talk at the grave, Shivering Fade couldn't bring himself to say anything. He simply closed his eyes and mourned. In his grief, he had no idea he was being hunted. Then, with barely a sound, Otterburst pounced. Her claws dug into his fur as she pinned him to the ground, not giving him a chance to fight back as she quickly slashed her claws across his neck. As the blood pooled on Peach Kit's grave, Otterburst snarled in the dying cat's ear, declaring that now he wouldn't be able to hurt anyone else. The world faded further and further as Shivering Fade's vision went black. Then, suddenly, all he saw was red, as he reappeared in the place of no stars, with the smug Berlioz standing in front of him. Shivering Fade stumbled, his body in constant pain, but the pain wasn't enough to dull him to the realization of the truth. Somehow, Berlioz had caused this. Just as that realization hit and rage began to build, Shivering Fade heard paw steps behind him. He whipped around and attacked without hesitation, badly wounding a surprised Tangle Sky. As she yowled in pain, Shivering Fade turned his attention towards the source of his fury. Recalling all the moves that Berlioz had taught him, Shivering Fade went for a killing blow. Berlioz yowled in pain. Tangle Sky, terrified and badly wounded, turned and retreated across the sand as Berlioz fell. Shivering Fade paid no attention to the fleeing cat as he yelled at Berlioz, "Why? Why did you do this to me?" Berlioz, aware his fate was sealed, felt his fear be replaced with glee. He laughed as he began to fade and looked at Shivering Fade victoriously. "What I did? Oh, Shivering Fade, I didn't do anything. You did this all to yourself." Shivering Fade let out another yowl, raising his claws to attack Berlioz one more time, but by the time his claws landed, the Dark Forest cat had faded away, with the blood on the sand the only sign he had ever been there. Alone in the dark forest, separated from both the living and the dead, all Shivering Fade could do was throw his head back and let out a furious, heartbroken scream. So, yep, Shivering Fade is officially dead and in the Dark Forest. Surprisingly, he didn't do any murders himself this year, but his behavior didn't get any better. Daisy Spike was trying so hard to get him to open up, but Shivering Fade snapped at him again and again until he said some pretty harsh stuff about how they weren't even really kin, and pretty much pushed Daisy Spike away completely. Hayflood tried too, but got similar treatment. The only cat he ended up opening up to, eventually, was Laurelflood. They both took midnight strolls, looked at constellations together, and just fell in love. They ended up having kits near the end of the year, too. Shivering Fade felt genuinely happy for the first time in a long time and spoiled his kits rotten. However, the murder of his daughter shattered his heart, and I think the only reason he didn't fall back into his old patterns from last year was because of his mate and kits. They kept him grounded and helped him focus on his work and his family, until that fateful night when Otterburst killed him. Although he killed Berlioz, his burning fury at the injustice he has faced continues to blaze. He tried to see the living cats, but he doesn't know how, and he doesn't know any other Dark Forest cats who could help him with that. He tried to get to StarClan and to Pebblekit, but found no way in. He hates the living cats, he hates StarClan too, and he wants some sort of vengeance on all of them, but he has no way to get that. So, for now, all that fury has been directed at the one cat he could reach, Tangle Sky. He is fully aware that she was likely manipulated into helping Berlioz, much like Otterburst probably was, but he doesn't care. He'll make every cat who took him away from his happiness suffer, and he won't stop until they've all paid. Oh man, what a crazy amount of deaths and drama, and we haven't even gotten to the living cats yet. We're moving out of the place of new stars and checking on some cats outside the clan. Let's talk about Sproutbeak, Cirrus, and their 3-moon-old kits. We have Pearl, who is polite and confident with words, Anemone, who is sweet and quick to help, Turtle, who is noisy and confident with words, and Squid, who is bossy with an active imagination. They were initially thriving together. They love each other very much and have explored all over. They also had a status where they were playing with kits, and so to check if they had their own now, I rolled for it, and they did indeed have kits, which is why you see these 4 cutie pies right now. She should be happy, but Sproutbeak is really struggling right now. She misses her clanmates more and more each day, and every status her moon has been about how she wonders about the clan. One time she even mistook a loner for Ivy Dusk, and she was so happy until she realized that it wasn't him, and was hit with that utter loneliness again. She loves Cirrus and their kits more than anything, she truly does, but she misses her clan so much. That loneliness has been eating away at her, and despite her attempts to claim otherwise, it's obvious how much she wants to go back. But she's afraid that going back would be facing the disappointment and ire of her clan, as well as leaving Cirrus behind, something she doesn't want at all. And to her credit, Cirrus seems to understand. Despite Sproutbeak's attempts to hide her sadness, she knows her mate too well and sees right through the facade. She loved their adventures, but she doesn't want to force her mate to stay with her if it'll make her unhappy. Although clan life intimidates her, I think Cirrus is willing to try it for her mate and her kits, especially after the increase of rogues and two-leg traps. Not only has she been sniffing around clan territory, but she's been spotted multiple times this year talking to several different cats in the clan. She never mentions Sproutbeak, as she doesn't want her mate to feel pressured into anything, but she wants their little family to be safe and happy, and she's willing to try it if that's what her mate wants. As of the end of the year, Cirrus has finally told Sproutbeak all of the news she's heard from the HoundClan cats, and while they haven't rejoined just yet, all these statuses have me hopeful that they might. We'll just have to wait and see next year. And finally, we have reached the HoundClan cats. It's finally time to talk about all of them and see how they're holding up with all the chaos going on right now. You already know who our leader is, so let's get started with none other than the 61-moon-old Ficklestar. She started this year feeling a little overworked as she settled into the deputy position more, especially when she was given another apprentice to train alongside that. It was a lot to learn, and having to talk to so many cats all day every day was quite daunting for our introvert queen. But she did a great job, praised by both her clanmates and other clans. She was so proud of her kits and so happy to watch them grow up, and they always spend as much time together as they can. Interestingly, she also has a small, growing crush on Floxheart, but I think she's so focused on her work that she doesn't realize what these feelings are, just that she feels more comfortable and safe around her. It was during her deputyship that she also heard some of the younger kits talking about strange cats in their dreams and decided to investigate the Dark Forest with her powers again. While there, she ran into Chestnut Fang and Hush Whisper, discovering that the younger cat is also connected to the Dark Forest. Chestnut Fang defended his friend fiercely, and Ficklefeather could tell that Hush Whisper had changed, so she allows the meetings to continue and sometimes joins in on them herself, with all three of them looking out for any cats that may also be pulled into the Dark Forest. She was devastated by First Star's death, but determined to become a leader that would honor her grandmother. She works hard on patrols and on taking care of her clan, but still makes time for herself and her friends and family, which I'm happy to see. She was also one of the cats who ran into Cirrus when she was investigating some of the birdhouses in the two-leg place, and she shared news to her. I think she kind of suspects who Cirrus is mates with, but she isn't going to force her to tell her. She's just glad Sproutbeak seems to be doing okay. As of the end of the year, she's quite shaken by all the death that happened, especially Shivering Fade, who she misses dearly, having no idea about what he has done. She's trying her best to stay strong. She knows that's what the clan needs right now. She's been making sure cats get back from gatherings and patrols safely, and although she still isn't very social, she can still be found outside in the camp clearing, watching over the clan that she vowed to protect. She seems to be doing well as leader right now, and I can't wait to see what she gets up to next year. As for her first deputy, she chose the 35-moon-old Laurel Flood, along with his 3-moon-old kits. Pond Kit, who is sweet and interested in clan history, and Tree Kit, who is noisy and never sits still. Laurel Flood is not doing very well this year. While he was initially trying to figure out the prophecy, he ended up getting distracted as he fell in love with Shivering Fade, feelings which were reciprocated, and I think he genuinely just forgot. Being with Shivering Fade, having their kits together, training his apprentice, becoming deputy, it was so much easier to just focus on that and be happy. And for a while it worked. But then his old apprentice, Wisteria Thrush, died, and Pebblekit was murdered. Laurel Flood was left devastated. Then the prophecy and new warnings from StarClan cats came to the front of his mind. He tried to tell Shivering Fade about his vision, but his mate snapped at him and said someone like him couldn't have those visions, which hurt, but Laurel Flood hoped, that it was just the grief speaking. He gave his mate some space, hoping they could talk with clearer heads, but then Shivering Fade was murdered too. He was horrified. It was like losing his family all over again. He may have completely fallen apart if not for his clanmates. Ficklestar gave him all the time he needed to grieve, and Daisy Spike was always the first to check in on him. It helped him through his grief and is helping him focus on his position and his kits, especially Pond Kit, who is the closest to Shivering Fade and is completely grief-stricken. When he isn't looking after them, he's focused on keeping an eye on cats, making sure they all get home from gatherings alongside Ficklestar. But he's still in sort of a daze. He wakes up from nightmares where he begs Pebblekit and Shivering Fade not to leave him, and often patrols by himself. Unfortunately, during his last patrol of the year, he nearly died when sand caved beneath him and he spent all day having to dig himself out of a sinkhole. He's a great deputy and he doesn't want to leave his position, but he's also so heartbroken right now. I really hope next year is more kind to him and his family. Up next, we have our healers and a new pair of mates, the 112-moon-old Poolback and the 105-moon-old Daisy Spike. These two are such an adorable couple and are really supporting each other a lot, especially through all the hardships this year. Let's start with Poolback, who was doing much better at the beginning of this year. Not only was he spending a lot of time with Daisy, Spike, and Fogfoot, but he was also bonding really well with Hayflood, who was quite the wingcat for him. His broken bone thankfully healed very well, and he was back on his paws in no time. He was also a rock for Daisy Spike during the rough parts of the year, especially after everything that Shivering Fade said, and the death of Pebblekit, as well as the disappearance of Daisy Spike's other grandson. He also gave the newest healer apprentice an important lesson about mental illness and how that is just as important to learn as physical wounds. And after Cartpaw was nearly swept away by the ocean, only rescued thanks to Poolback's strong swimming skills, First Star and him agreed to mandatory swimming lessons for all the apprentices. He also does his best to help out Cinder Creek, having noticed even more how the cat seems to be isolating himself. But Cinder Creek just continues to pull further and further away. He also was wondering what Otterburst was up to, which makes me wonder if he has any idea about what she did. Although this does distract him sometimes, he's kept up well with his work, and he seems to have found a good stress reliever in singing, something I imagine Snufkin inspired him to try. He did have a close call near the end of the year where he nearly slipped and fell, but Daisy Spike thankfully caught him. Fittingly, it was after this that they announced they were mates. They're so cute, and despite the struggles he and his mate are still facing, Poolback is comforted not just by his mate, but also by his clanmates and his brand new grandkids. He just wishes he could find out who caused his mate all this pain. As for Daisy Spike, his year, as you can imagine, has been really rough. Rough enough that his personality changed from troublesome back to nervous. My poor boy. He was there for Spotted Stripe when she died, promising he'd always look out for her as she faded away. He wasn't able to rest after that, as the dreams continued to plague him. He told Cleaver and Poolback and tried to talk to Shivering Fade, only for his kin to completely cut him out. It was devastating, and only his son and his mate really kept him going. He was able to distract himself for a bit by taking on a new apprentice, Roachpaw, who he saw a lot of potential in and is really proud of. He is also absolutely smitten with his mate, and every herb he found and every lesson he helped with. He was also worried about several cats, especially Laurelflood, who he constantly checked in on, and his child-in-law, Kestrel, who he felt was pushing themselves far too hard, especially after the disappearance of Wolverine Paw. He also comforted his apprentice, encouraging them when they felt like a failure, as well as his mate, draping his tail over them and purring to comfort him. But as the deaths began to pile up, Daisy Spike grew more and more overwhelmed. When First Star died, he could barely catch his breath through his sobs. He grew even more overwhelmed after the death of Pebblekit and Shivering Fade, feeling like a failure and worrying that every cat around him was doomed to die. Poolback has been his rock through this just as much as he has been for Poolback, with both of them trying their best to survive through the grief that strikes at their hearts. I feel so bad for these two, but I'm relieved they have each other. Here's hoping next year will be more kind to them. Up next we have Cleaver, who is now 110 moons old and started off the year on a high note by tossing a snake out of camp before it could bite someone. He was trying very hard to be a great healer and was doing his best to understand the omens and prophecies alongside his fellow healers, and was frustrated at how they always seemed to reach a dead end. He spent a lot of time with Kestrel, who he found easy to talk to, and the many kits in camp, educating them on what plants to stay away from. He was a little annoyed by the new apprentice at first, who seemed to pick up on everything so easily compared to Cleaver himself. Thankfully, Plumeria knocked some sense into him, and he returned that by being there for her after the loss of her father, so soon after their reunion. She and him decided to have one more litter together as they both wanted another kit and were blessed with a daughter who just became an apprentice. He's super proud of her. And while he still isn't certain about what the prophecies all mean, he definitely has a bad feeling about Cinder Creek, feeling extremely unsettled when he looks at him. This uncertainty and confusion about the prophecy has led to him growing more unfocused and more grumpy with every passing day, struggling on patrols and snapping at cats around camp. He even had a huge argument with Gracklepaw that other cats had to break up. Right now, the only thing that seems to settle him down is when he's reinforcing camp walls, especially the Elder's Den. But his paranoia seems to be growing more and more, and I worry about who it will be aimed at next. Up next is the 70-moon-old Kestrel and their mate, the 63-moon-old Hayflood, who have been having a bit of a difficult year. Let's start with Kestrel, who was struggling quite a bit this year, especially after their first patient was their own daughter. First, Halfkit got sick, and then during the period where she was in the medicine den, Kestrel realized Halfkit couldn't hear properly and would likely lose her hearing entirely by the time she was a warrior. Although they are a healer, Kestrel was panicked by this and focused almost entirely on Halfkit and helping them adapt to their hearing loss. They helped with signing lessons, spoke with Halfpaw's mentor constantly, and was very involved in every aspect of their daughter's life. That fussing didn't happen to Wolverine Paw, who they seemed to forget about half the time, only noticing him when they scolded him for getting in trouble or for bothering his sister. In Kestrel's eyes, Wolverine Paw didn't need them as much as Halfpaw did. He was a perfectly healthy kid. Surely he could deal with things on his own, right? But this had the consequence of straining their relationship with Hayflood, as well as pushing both of their children away. It was Half-Ghost who realized that Wolverine Paw had run away, and Kestrel only found out when their daughter yelled at them for not even realizing he was gone. Kestrel was devastated and searched all over for their son, getting terrible frostbite in the process, but they couldn't find him anywhere. It was only after Wolverine Paw disappeared that Kestrel realized how little time they had spent with him, and that they don't even have any idea of where to search for him because they don't really know anything about him. Half-Ghost had pulled away as well, and at first Kestrel wanted to force Half-Ghost to talk to them again and stop ignoring them, only to be hit with how much they were acting like their mother. They are shaken by guilt and regret, and they have no idea how to fix this. Perhaps the best way to do it would be to start by admitting to Hayflood the truth about their past, but Hayflood is already pulling away after everything that has happened, and it feels like that would make things worse. At this point, Kestrel doesn't know if there's anything they can do to fix what's happened, so maybe it's better to just do nothing. As for Hayflood, he was similarly worried about Halfkit's hearing loss, but tried to be the more optimistic parent. He encouraged the whole family during sign language lessons and took them alongside his kids. And while he tried to be there for his whole family, he did neglect Wolverine Paw and only realized it when the kit started to act out. After that, he tried to spread its time more evenly between the kits, which may have helped if he didn't also excuse Kestrel's behavior. He didn't want to confront them, so he would simply comfort Wolverine Paw and promise that his parent did love him. That was just how they were, and they had more important things they were focused on. He tried his best to pretend that everything was fine, but he could see the tension growing, especially when his kids started to clash with each other. He tried to mediate between Kestrel and Wolverine Paw, but tended to take Kestrel's side more often than not. When he wasn't trying that, he was throwing himself into work, trying to focus on anything other than the tension of their family. This all came to a head after Shivering Fade's death. The loss of his kin was already devastating, but then one day he returned to camp just as Half-Ghost stormed away from Kestrel, finding out from his mate that Wolverine Paw had run away. Even then, he still couldn't bring himself to stand up to Kestrel, but he was devastated at losing more of his family, and he rushed to try and find his son to no avail. Things between them all aren't great. He's crushed that Wolverine Paw's run away, and devastated that Half-Ghost has distanced herself and frustrated with Kestrel's avoidant behavior. Despite that, he's just watching everything happen instead of intervening. Instead of confronting the situation he's put himself into. And even though deep down he knows that this isn't fixing anything, it's far easier for him to live in denial than have to face the consequences of his decision to just stand by and let everything happen, instead of being what his kids needed. Finally, we have our newest healer, the 15-moon-old Roach Twist, who is fierce, incredibly clever, and a fast runner. As a kid, he was guarding the fresh kill pile and taking it very seriously, fighting off any seagull who dared to come near it. But despite that, he also shivered at the thought of fighting and very much wanted to be a healer apprentice. He was apprenticed to Daisy Spike, and they had a wonderful first patrol where they gathered mallow and admired some buzzing bees, with Daisy Spike pointing out where their hive was. He took all his lessons very seriously, listening intently to everything the older cats taught him, but he was also not afraid to call out Cleaver when he was rude to him. The words still did get to him, but Daisy Spike's encouragement helped out a lot. Roach Twist also found an abandoned seagull nest and happily took those feathers as a decoration, thinking of it as victory against those annoying birds. He also seems to be quite the genius with herbs, as he not only gathers them, but is also attempting to grow them, having created his very own garden within the camp, with the help of some skilled den builders. He also invented a way to carry around seeds he finds by crafting a pouch out of the remains of the sail from the shipwreck in camp. He's incredibly smart, and everyone is always interested in what he's going to do or create next. Fittingly, he was honored for his skill at his healer ceremony, and is currently trying to use that skill to figure out how to lure bees into making a hive in his garden. When he isn't busy with his work or his garden, he loves spending time with his mother and siblings, all of them incredibly close and looking out for each other all the time. In fact, he and his siblings are currently plotting together to try and help Floxheart and Ficklestar get together, wanting to see their mom happy. All in all, Roach Twist seems like an incredible cat with a lot of potential, and I can't wait to see what he does next. On to our mediators, we have the 57-moon-old Fogfoot and his mates, the 51-moon-old Jumbo Talon, and the 46-moon-old Cherry Silk, as well as their brand new babies, the impulsive Basil Kit, who is biologically Fogfoot's, and the unruly Panther Kit, who is biologically Cherry Silk's. Let's start with Fogfoot. He was struggling quite a bit at the beginning of this year, especially as his old apprentice pulled further and further away from him. Though he still tries to talk to him, he never often gets much back. Thankfully, he has his amazing mates and his kits, who he is so happy to have got to watch grow up. He also was more than happy to help Daisy Spike and his dad get together, glad to see his father smiling more and more. First Star's death hurt him a lot, and he spoke for a long time at her vigil about how grateful he was for her welcoming him into the clan and giving him a chance to have such a wonderful family. He spent a lot of time with his kits and also asked Snufkin and Pinepaw to help him learn how to sing as well. Apparently, HoundClan is becoming a really musical clan. He was very successful as a mediator too, being the one to mediate between Hayflood and Kestrel, as well as Cleaver and Roach Twist. While he is proud of his work, I think it hurt him a lot that he could help out so many cats but couldn't seem to reconnect with Cinder Creek. But his mates helped a lot, and Cherry Silk's encouragement helped him grow more confident, including traveling to other clans to settle disputes. He is a cat who is big on showing love as much as saying it, which Jumbo Talon understands, comforting him after he tried and failed to catch her favorite prey. They were very excited to announce the next litter to the clan, full of love for their growing family. All in all, despite some hardships and a few things he's worried about, Fogfoot is doing great, and he's very much looking forward to the future. Jumbo Talon is up next, and she's been having a very good year. Initially, there was a bit of drama because Wolverine Kit was saying some awful stuff about her, something that Jumbo Talon realized was him kind of pushing his feelings about his sister onto her. She was quick to nip that behavior in the bud and tell him that it was not okay to talk about cats like that. She was one of the few cats who Wolverine Paw would talk to and listen to, and she worries about him and his whereabouts a lot. She also worried about her kits a lot, which is why she was very thankful that her newest apprentice was Gracklepaw. They worked well together, and she was also praising all her kids for their skills. She actually also took over Yellowpaw's training after the loss of their mentor, and was a rock to the young cat during their mourning. Unfortunately, there was a lot of worries for her this year as well. She was sent an omen of things to come by Starlingpaw, which I think may have been a warning of the illness that spread through the camp, as she did something that made Cleaver happy, likely sniffing out as many herbs as she could to help them prepare for the sickness. Some cats still died, but definitely not as many that would have without her help. She may not have a lot of confidence in herself, but many cats have confidence in her. She gives amazing advice and is always there to guide her clanmates, something they appreciate more than she knows. Especially her old apprentice Duskfeather, who she has been helping through his grief, as well as nursing his newborn kits. Times are still tough for many reasons, but right now she's safe. She has her new litter, her two wonderful mates, and their amazing family. What more could she ever want? As for Cherry Silk, he was overworking himself a bit this year, a little overwhelmed by all the death. Losing Cedarmane and Weevilpaw hurt a lot, but losing his mother was devastating. He ran out of camp at the sight of her body and was grieving for a long time. His mates were the ones to help him find the strength to leave the nest again, and pulled his playful smile back onto his face. He actually was one of the cats who caught green cough during the wave of illness, but was saved thanks to Jumbo Talon's hard work on gathering herbs, and he couldn't stop bragging about her after realizing that. He also loved taking midnight strolls with Fogfoot, and the three of them always found time to rest in the sunlight together. He spent a lot of time with their kits, and loves teaching them all his tricks so that the next generation can continue the glorious pranks. He ended the year by leading a dog as far away from camp as he possibly could, with Jumbo Talon purring and supporting him all the way back home, where he instantly got smothered with nuzzles from Fogfoot. Despite his hardships, he ended off the year feeling happy, grateful for his amazing family, the beautiful kits they have brought into the world, and the love they all found together. Up next we have Cinder Creek, and oh boy, Cinder Creek, where do I even begin with you? Well, firstly, he came out as trans, and I love that for him, and while figuring this out did seem to help him feel a little bit better. That feeling only lasted for a little while before the insecurity and inadequacy about his place in HoundClan started to creep back up. He was failing mediations, not just in the clan but also outside of it, with his anger often getting the better of him. Fogfoot has tried to talk to him, and at first he was open to it, but another cat switched over to the mediator role and is already doing so well that Cinder Creek's feeling of inadequacy has turned into furious jealousy. He's angry at everyone, especially Fogfoot, who he feels like has replaced him, and he refuses to believe Fogfoot's words to him are genuine. And as time went on, he grew more and more frustrated with the situation. Then, a strange cat appeared before him in his dreams, claiming that she could be a guide for Cinder Creek. Cinder Creek, who had never been more than a mediator, was uncertain. But when Cliff Dazzle said she could teach them how to be a cat others would respect and fear, they were desperate for the training. They agreed to Cliff Dazzle's terms, training in return for a favor from him from the future. However, even then, Cliff Dazzle said she wasn't sure if he was ready. And if he wanted to prove he was, he needed to stain his paws with blood and make his first kill. While he has some skill, he's never been in an actual battle before, so Cinder Creek chose an easy target, Pebble Kit. Yep, Cinder Creek is Pebble Kit's murderer, having killed the kit after they wandered out of camp and gaining Cliff Dazzle as a mentor in return. The training is brutal, and while he's had to explain away a few new scars, he's determined to learn as much as he can. Then, when he's ready, he'll switch to a warrior position and rise the ranks. Then, when he's leader, nobody will be able to disrespect him ever again. On to our newest and last mediator, the 32-moon-old Ivy Dusk, and his new mate, the 34-moon-old Slopetwig. These two have finally gotten together, and they did so right at the beginning of the year and have been such a cute couple. No kids yet, but here's hoping. Let's start with Ivy Dusk, who swapped over to being a mediator this year after chatting with Fogfoot about it. He settled into the role quite well and was quickly helping out with small disputes around camp, getting along great with Fogfoot. Unfortunately, despite his best efforts, Cinder Creek simply ignores him or snaps at him to leave him alone. Despite that, he did his best and was one of the other cats Wolverine Paw would talk to, with both of them looking at constellations together. The disappearance of the apprentice was sad, and he keeps an eye out for him whenever he's outside of camp, hoping that Wolverine Paw is safe, wherever he is. The death of his grandmother hurt a lot, but he found comfort in that she died peacefully, and the knowledge that his whole family was watching over him helped too. I think that's also why he spent a lot of time with the two elders who the clan rescued, comforting them and joking with them until their final moments. When Slopetwig confessed to him, he was over the moon and happily became mates with him, taking moonlit strolls all the time. He's still a jokester, though, and was happily watching the apprentice's plan to hunt down a creature he made up. He loves to explore, too, and actually at one point swore he saw Sproutbeak while out looking for some prey. And then Cirrus showed up along the border, and he connected the dots and asked her to say hi to Sproutbeak for him, promising to keep quiet about it. All in all, it seems his kindness and wisdom has evolved even more, and he's doing wonderfully as a mediator. I can't wait to see what he does next year. Also, fun fact, apparently Ivy Dusk is the most handsome cat in the clan because literally every young cat in the clan has a crush on him, and for a lot of them it's only him, which is kinda hilarious. As for Slopetwig, he's been doing pretty well this year. Although the loss of his mother and kin hurt a lot, he was able to lean on his family and friends for comfort, as well as his beloved new mate, and found relief in the knowledge that the legacy of their incredible deeds would carry on in life. It did take him a bit to build up the courage to confess, with his outspoken apprentice being the one to give him the final push. He loves his mate so much and encouraged him a lot, including standing up to Cinder Creek and challenging him for his snide comments. He was one of the cats who rescued Mitochondria and spent a lot of time with them for the first few months before they passed. And he is also still very close to Ficklestar, with both of them racing all the time. Both of them also seem to be very big fans of the water, so I imagine that the races are actually swimming races, with Slopetwig currently in the lead. He is also one of the swim instructors, a role he takes very seriously. He and his apprentice are still very close, even after her graduation, and he helped her a lot with her feelings of grief after the loss of her sister, knowing the pain all too well. And while his year has been wonderful, he found himself shaken by something that happened at the end of the year when his mate's brother, Zinniaflip, appeared in his dreams with a prophecy. The crashing waves that blaze the cinders carry no stars, and the high tide grows ever closer. Although the words are confusing and vague, Slopetwig knows that at the very least this prophecy is a warning about Cinder Creek, but he has no idea what it could all mean. There are only a few things he knows for certain. The first is that he needs to tell Ficklestar as soon as he can, and the second is that, whatever this prophecy may mean, he will die before he lets Cinder Creek anywhere near his mate. On to the warriors, we have the 86-moon-old Ezrapelt and the 82-moon-old Hatchfox, both of whom are doing their best despite the year's struggles. Starting with Hatchfox, she was surprisingly playful this year. He jumped into a puddle, splashing Abysspaw and laughing with her. It was nice to see her so happy. He was also doing amazing as a parent, and even got an entire patrol of apprentices to actually listen to a lecture about camp maintenance, which honestly a lot of cats find as impressive as becoming deputy. When she wasn't working, she was spending time with her family, all of whom she loved so much. But then Weevilpaw died, and Hatchfox was shattered with grief. She screamed at her mother, blaming her for not looking after Weevilpaw closer. He regretted his words later, especially when he found out that First Star lost a life when searching for his daughter, but his mother wouldn't accept any apologies from him, saying she deserved his words. Then, far too soon after, she lost her mother too. At the vigil, she hissed at anyone who dared to get too close to her body, refusing to let go. They had gone through so much together. From Hushstar's reign, the war, the fire, their new home, to lose her felt like losing a big part of himself, and he felt numb for a long time. If it weren't for Ezreal and her kits, she might have fallen apart. With some help from his mate, he was reminded that First Star, Weevilpaw, and the rest of his family would have wanted him to keep living on. So, when Ezreal suggests adventures, he's happy to rush out with them and explore the territory. When her kits want to crunch leaves, splash in puddles, or relax in the sun, she takes the time to join them. Despite the grief that still claws at his heart, he will do his best to seize the moments he has and remember his lost loved ones fondly. As for Ezreal, he has continued to be such a dad, and was also proud of his kits, gushing over their accomplishments and apparently always having the perfect dad joke to pull out at the right moment to make all of the kids roll their eyes. He took the loss of Weevilpaw really hard, and although grief is something he knows quite well, there was something different when it came to losing his own kid. He struggled a bit, but did his best to be there for his family, bringing them prey while they grieved, and being there for them when they cried. When he wasn't comforting his mate and family, he tended to wander off on his own, finding new spots around the territory where he could grieve himself. He also apparently started singing as well, furthering my theory that HoundClan is a musical clan now. Eventually his grief did lessen, especially as his kits and mate began to smile again. He found joy in showing Hatchfox all the fun spots he found outside of camp, as well as helping in fixing up the camp, and was especially excited to help Roach Twist with his garden and pouch projects. He has been mapping out the sand dunes, and is still the most cat dad I have ever seen. I'm happy he was able to find the strength to smile again too. And although he's still anxious for the future, he admires Hatchfox's determination to cherish every moment that they still have, and will join her in that decision, no matter what the next moons may bring. Up next is the new arrival, an 85-moon-old Jules Heart, who is charismatic with steady paws and a natural intuition. She was found near the end of the year by Floxheart and Ficklestar after she had been abandoned by her two legs because of her illness, and was a little intimidated by the cold cat and the quiet leader, but incredibly grateful for their help, quickly recovering from her green cough. She quickly tried to settle into clan life and impress the new clanmates, only to immediately trip over something in camp. Thankfully, she seems to have a great sense of humor and likes to make other cats laugh with her funny quips. She's only had one patrol so far, and interestingly, it was one where she went hunting near the two-leg nests. And while she brought back prey, she was also really shaken up after running into a kitty pet who recognized her and called her by her old name. She just ignored them and ran back to camp, scared to face her old friends after being abandoned so carelessly. She hasn't voiced any of this out loud yet, instead hiding her sadness behind her jokes and trying her best to pretend everything is fine. I hope that once she's settled down once more, she'll feel safe to let out all these feelings instead of letting it all build up inside, but only time will tell. Up next, we have the 52-moon-old Jinx, who honestly doesn't seem to be doing that good. She and Floxheart seem to get along well, but Jinx's personality tends to clash with a lot of other cats here. She tells cats that they look horrible and also walks away from conversations that bore her. She scolds the apprentices a lot for little slights and hit Roachkit in the face with her tail without apologizing. Despite her cold attitude, she did end up getting an apprentice in Sunpaw this year, and she's proven to be a good, albeit incredibly strict and tough mentor. Training a young cat does seem to have softened her up a bit though, as they get along really well, and she was incredibly proud of all that Sunpaw accomplished. She even found a friend in Ivy Dusk, with both of them enjoying racing one another, even if Jinx usually wins. She was one of the cats who caught green cough when the illness spread around and was hissing furiously, hating to be stuck in the healer's den. She tried to push herself to help out anyway, trying to find prey for the clan. However, sick and exhausted, she wandered too close to the Thunderpath, which was when Snufkin saved her life at the cost of her own. Jinx was horrified and felt terribly guilty, especially when seeing the grief on Songpaw's face after the news of her mother's death. She seemed sort of lost after that. Some days she's friendly, other days she's snapping at any cat who comes close to her. She seems to just not know what to do with herself or how to process these feelings and won't reach out to anyone who could help her. I feel really bad for her, and I hope that, like Jules Heart, she'll be able to open up and sort out her feelings a bit more next year. Up next, we have the 51-moon-old Floxheart, whose personality, interestingly, changed to sneaky this year. Despite that, much like I hoped, she opened up a lot. She enjoyed having mock battles with other cats and found a close friend in Jinx, Ficklestar, and Stowbranch. Her skill in creative hunting strategies also got her her very own apprentice in Adderpaw, and the two of them got along really well, each challenging each other to work hard and improve. Floxheart crafted her lessons into challenges for her daring apprentice, which not only taught her but improved her skills along the way. She was a bit overwhelmed by the gatherings and how many cats there are, but she finds it an excellent way to learn about the other clans. She was also one of the cats who ran into Cirrus and gave her a pretty honest description of the clan and her opinions of it. When Cirrus asked her if she should join, Floxheart said that was up to her and that she shouldn't let other cats choose for her. She seems to be thriving with the clan even more now, and somehow along the way, she found herself falling head over paws for Ficklestar. Initially, I think she simply found comfort in the cat because she was responsible and someone she could rely on. But as they patrolled together and got to know each other, she enjoyed how they could sit in silence together comfortably. She also loved how, despite how quiet Ficklestar was, how loud she purred when she was happy. Every moment she is with Ficklestar makes her heart race, but she was hesitant to do anything about it until Ficklestar's kids told her to go for it. Despite their encouragement, which included many elaborate ideas on how to ask out their mom, she is still taking it slow. She doesn't want to make Ficklestar feel like she has to like her back, especially when the cat is still busy adjusting to leadership. For now, just being beside her is enough. As for me, I do hope these two become mates eventually. They would make such an adorable couple, and they both deserve to be happy. Fingers crossed for next year. Up next is a heartbreaking one. We have the 44-moon-old Duskfeather and his 4 newborn kits. The skittish Merc Kit, the polite Burnet Kit, the self-conscious Night Kit, and the unruly Boulder Kit. Initially, his year was going wonderfully. He had his kits, his mate, and the clan he cared for so much. He and Stowbranch were still so in love, always catching prey for each other and looking at constellations. He spent lots of time with his kits, always there for them whenever they wanted to spar or just relax and snuggle. He also got an apprentice in Wolverine Paw, and he tried hard to always be there for them, wanting to give them someone they could rely on. However, the constant death this year really took a toll on him. It started with First Star, a cat Duskfeather really looked up to, and he felt angry and withdrawn afterwards, refusing to move on. Then he lost his son, and during his mourning his apprentice disappeared. He was pushing himself harder and harder, refusing to rest as he tried to find Wolverine Paw. This unfortunately led to him spraining his paw when it got caught in a 2-leg trap he didn't see. Then, soon after, he and Stowbranch had their kits, only for Duskfeather to have no choice but to watch as his beloved mate faded away right before him. He begged her to stay, to not leave him alone, but there was nothing they could do. Since then, he's been in a daze, grieving and feeling like his fears from last year have come true. He would probably still be running himself ragged if Ficklestar hadn't ordered him to stay in the nursery with his kids, her way of giving him a break without making him feel bad about it. Thankfully, his family has also been there for them, as well as his old mentor, Jumbletalon, who is nursing the kits alongside her own. He's still not okay, nowhere near it, but for now every cat has insisted to him that that's okay, and that they're there for him and his kits until he's better. I really hope next year will be more kind to him and his family. Up next, we have the 37-moon-old Foggy Breeze, whose confidence is still quite present this year. It helped him a lot this year, especially when he came out as Arrow Ace. Something I chose because he's never seemed to have any statuses about romance and has no romance bars with any cats at all. Plumeria, Cleaver, and him love to make jokes about it whenever another cat is talking about their romance problems. Speaking of Plumeria and Cleaver, I think Foggy Breeze is different than them in that he is very much on the repulse side of the spectrum, meaning that if he ever has kits, it would be through adoption. He was very proud of his apprentice, who, despite being a bit of a brat, was a very skilled cat, and he was one of the loudest cheering at her warrior ceremony. He's also still very close to Hatchfox and Ezrapel, and is always happy to run into them, and loves their stories and advice. He still definitely prefers time to himself, often heading out on solo patrols or taking long walks alone, but he also loves his time with his friends and clanmates a lot. Interestingly, he was also caught chatting with Cirrus at the border. But considering he doesn't like Sproutbeak at all, it's definitely a good thing Cirrus didn't mention her around him. When First Star died, he was devastated, sprinting out of camp at the sight of his mother's body and hiding outside of camp to mourn alone. He spoke to Ezrapel and the mediators about his feelings, which helped, but he still misses his mom a lot. He even snapped at Ficklestar a few times, but I think it was out of misplaced anger more than true hatred, as they still get along really well. Foggy Breeze spends a lot of time visiting First Star's grave or heading outside of camp, wandering on his own. Unfortunately, the poor guy ended the year by getting caught in another landslide, having to dig himself out of the sand, which took the rest of the day. This poor guy has just not had the best year. Hopefully next year will be filled with less grief and less landslides. Up next, we have a new pair of mates, the 29-moon-old Otterburst, the 28-moon-old Muddlespeckle, along with their 5-moon-old kits. Frond Kit, who is bullying and a picky nest builder, and Nightingale Kit, who is a know-it-all and confident with words. And I'm sure you have all been waiting to hear about her after that animatic, so let's start with Otterburst. She was doing better this year initially, guarding camp, telling apprentices stories, and hanging out with her friends, especially Muddlespeckle. These two fell hard and fast and were always found together, sometimes getting into trouble, but always smiling afterwards. In fact, the moon that they announced they were mates was also when they announced they were expecting kits. She was doing great. Unfortunately, the deaths this year really weighed on her mind. She lost Cloud so quickly, and she felt lost without him there. They were basically siblings. Then she lost Peachkit and Stotebranch so close together that it was devastating. Muddlespeckle was her rock, as well as the rest of the Plumeria family, who were always there to help out. It was during this grief that Berlioz and Tanglesky approached her, revealing Shivering Fate's crimes. She was horrified, and her thoughts quickly began to spiral. She loved her mate and their family so much. What if Shivering Fate went after Muddlespeckle next, who's in the healer's den right now? Or Plumeria, Needlepaw, Cleaver, Chestnutfang? She couldn't let that happen. She had several statuses about watching Shivering Fate and how she couldn't stand when other cats complimented him. And while she had nothing to do with Pebblekit's death, she definitely used the situation to her advantage, catching Shivering Fate off guard and whispering her grievances into his ear when she killed him. She fought a fox that same moon on a solo patrol, which is, I think, what she used to excuse the blood on her white fur. So for now, nobody knows what she did. She doesn't seem to have any regrets about what she did, even as she sees cats mourning over Shivering Fate. They may not know it, but she did them all a favor, and if it means keeping her family safe, she'd do it again in a heartbeat. As for Muddlespeckle, she didn't get a chance to act on her crush on Cedarmane ever, but her feelings toward Otterburst grew quickly. I don't think it was a rebound, because these two got together long before Cedarmane passed away, a death which still hurt her, though, because they were quite close. But other than that, her year went pretty well. She's such a kind cat, always helping others with matted fur or pressing against cats who need support, including her mother after Begonia's death. She also got her first apprentice in Bubbling Paw and was excited to pass down everything she had been taught. She was also close to Otterburst during this time, both of them having similar values about the importance of family, and they both love a little bit of chaos, which I guess is just a requirement for any cat in the Plumeria family. She and Otterburst were prank menaces this year and tended to smile knowingly at each other when a prank was playing out exactly as planned. She was purring loudly the moon her and Otterburst had their kits, full of love for their family. She'd been very happy. Unfortunately, she was on the patrol where Wisteria Thrush died and was horrified to witness such a young cat lose their life. Then she lost one of her kits soon after and was heartbroken. It was her mate and her family who helped her stay grounded, especially Plumeria, who knew exactly what she was going through. Unfortunately, near the end of the year, she slipped and dislocated a joint while distracted. I genuinely wonder if this was the catalyst that made Otterburst kill Shivering Fade, too terrified that he may hurt her mate at any moment. But as of right now, Muddlespeckle seems unaware of what Otterburst did. She's still recovering from her injury, spending time with her family, her kits, and her mate. She still seems a little uncertain after everything, but she knows she can rely on her clanmates and her family, and that the hard times aren't too hard as long as she has them. Right after his sister, we have the 22-moon-old Chestnutfang, who is now charismatic with the Deep Dark Forest bond. Fun fact, I designed him before I knew his warrior name, so shout out to Cleaver and his apparently prophetic Fang genetics. He has been having a wonderful year, working hard in training, playing pranks, and spending time with his family. He has also honed his Dark Forest powers a lot, and can enter and leave the realm basically at will. Fittingly, with his charismatic personality, he also wore down Hush Whisper very quickly, and the two of them are friends now. He was honored for his amity at his warrior ceremony and excitedly went to tell Hush Whisper the news, only for their meetings to be discovered by Ficklefeather. At first he was terrified and defended Hush Whisper, begging Ficklefeather to not hurt his friend. But to his surprise and relief, Ficklefeather trusted his judgment and was kind to Hush Whisper as well. The two older cats told him the truth about their past interactions with each other, including what put Hush Whisper in the Dark Forest to begin with. And while it did shake up Chestnutfang a bit, he stood firm, saying he believed that every cat could change if they wanted to, and Hush Whisper clearly did. He deserved a second chance. Ficklefeather agreed with him on that too, and they've become very close since then, with Ficklestar even joining in on their meetings from time to time. As for what he's been up to, other than being a ball of chaos, he also seems to be a bit of a flirt. He enjoys teasing cats over their crushes and gossiping about drama with other cats. He found a mysterious pink poppy in the frost and decided to wear it, but I imagine him as a cat that has a lot of different accessories he likes to choose from. The pink one is just his favorite. He's still very close with all of his family and was super excited to be a big brother to Needlepaw. Even more excited when Ficklestar chose him to be her mentor. However, he was sent an omen by Tigersaur, the same omen his sister got last year. It seems this omen wasn't about him at all. Instead, it seems to be about their baby sister, who he's really worried about, and is planning to approach Ficklestar with what he has learned. Hopefully, together they can find a way to protect not just his sister, but other cats from the dangers of the dark forest. Up next, we have the 18-moon-old Abyss Lion, who is now insecure and a talented swimmer, and her year has been a bit rough. She initially was having a great year and continued to do excellent on patrols and catch lots of prey. However, tension in the clan was definitely getting to her. She and Kestrel didn't get along and had a lot of arguments, likely about Wolverine Paw. Despite that, she still rushed to save Hayflood from a fox, getting injured in the process, a wound that got badly infected for moons. And while her family tried to comfort her, including Ezreal bringing her favorite prey, I think this injury really struck her confidence. That, combined with losing Furstar and Weevilpaw so close together, seemed to shake her even more. She was missing catches, falling into creeks, and getting into arguments more than usual. While she excelled at swimming lessons, she didn't seem to succeed at anything else. At her warrior ceremony, her voice was trembling, and she was honored for her stealth, but she couldn't help but wonder if that truly described her. Since then, she's sort of faded into the background of the clan. She helps out on patrols and compliments other cats on their skills, but continuously stumbles when it comes to her own abilities, and never seems confident in herself. When other cats compliment her, even if it's her own family, she's sure it's just out of pity. Even now, after receiving a vision from StarClan, she's uncertain about what to do with it. Maybe she could act on the warning given, but is a cat like her really capable of anything? She doubts it. It's really sad to see such a confident apprentice turn into such a ball of anxiety. I really hope next year she'll be kinder to herself. Up next is Havendrop, who is also 18 moons old, troublesome, and a den builder. That personality is very fitting for her, as she is still a brat. She has the skills to back it up, though, as she always got really into training and soaked up all the skills about den building and camp maintenance that her parents taught her. And while she will always complete the work assigned to her, she is a complainer, and you will hear about her woes while she works. She admires her parents and thinks Ezreal is an incredible singer and loves to join him in his songs. Unlike the other apprentices, Havendrop is very much against sneaking out at night and never joined them in their escapades. She was horrified by Abyss Lion's infected wound and was shaken very badly by Weevilpaw's death. After nearly losing one sister, and then losing the other, and then her grandma, she felt like she had a lot to learn. She dove further into her training, determined to keep others safe. She was honored for her audacity at her warrior ceremony, which is incredibly fitting considering her overly dramatic personality, as well as the fact she snitched on some apprentices for something minor right after this. She has also grown to really look up to Jumble Talon and can't help but smile whenever she's around. She was also struggling a bit with her weak leg this year, as sometimes it felt like it was going to collapse under her with how painful it was. Pullback and her sister Pine Patch helped her with her leg exercises, which also included some swimming lessons Abyss Lion helped her with. She's really close with her two sisters, all of them having grown even closer after the loss of Weevilpaw, and Havendrop tends to keep a close eye on both of them, which means she's noticed Pine Patch sneaking out of camp every now and then, with excuses that she doesn't really believe, but she hasn't investigated that just yet. As of the end of the year, while she can still be a brat and overly dramatic, she loves her family a lot and is a hard worker, and while she may not be flawless, she's trying hard and believes in the path she is taking. Finally, right after her sisters, we have the 18-moon-old Pine Patch, who is compassionate with ghost sense. She was an eager apprentice, always excited to learn more, and respected her mentor a lot, especially when she learned just how much planning he did for all their training sessions. She was the one who pushed him to ask out Ivy Dusk and is super happy. She knew they'd make a good couple. She was also very curious about the other clans, especially after running into an Oak Clan apprentice at the beginning of the year who she clicked with right away. Unfortunately, she did struggle a bit with moving around the territory, with rough ground tearing her pelt every now and then, but she always keeps a smile on her face and enjoys teasing Havendrop for her own complaining. She's apparently a great singer like her dad and can often be heard humming while she works. And while the death of Weevilpaw broke her heart, it was also the catalyst that helped her realize what her powers are, because during her and her sister's warrior ceremonies, she spotted Weevilpaw watching them with pride, something that brought tears to her eyes. She hasn't told many cats, worried that her powers won't be taken seriously, but she's always kept an eye out for ghosts now. At her warrior ceremony, Hatch Fox told her that he knows her heart of gold will lead her through anything, which is so cute. Speaking of her heart of gold, she immediately was given an apprentice in Halfpaw, and did her best to be the cat the young one could rely on amongst all the chaos of the other cats in her life. She also attended quite a few gatherings where she reconnected with the apprentice she met all those moons ago, now a warrior named Privet-tail, and, well, one thing led to another and they fell in love. And while they kept it to themselves initially, only speaking at gatherings, after her apprentice became a warrior and she was left with more free time, she began sneaking over to the HoundClan border, often to meet with her secret mate, cuddling close and talking in hushed voices until the sun rose. As of right now, nobody knows about their secret, although Havendrop certainly suspects something is up. For now, I have coded Pine Patch into HoundClan save and Privet-tail into HoundClans as lost, and we'll have to wait and see if either cat joins the other clan next year, or if they continue to meet in secret. Also, paralyzed cats can have kittens in ClanGen, so if you guys want, I could roll each moon to see if half-clan kittens happen for the drama of it, but for now we'll have to wait until next year to see what this secret couple gets up to. Up next is the 17-moon-old Snowy Speckle, who is insecure and an excellent teacher, and is not doing the best. On the first moon of the year, he was apprenticed to Stotebranch and was trying to remain calm, but his twitching tail gave away his excitement to everyone. On his first patrol, he and his mentor ran into a Whisper Clan apprentice who claimed to be lost. Stotebranch merely chuckled and guided the cat back towards their territory, but Snowypaw was a little suspicious that this clan that was so secretive and mysterious would let an apprentice wander away. He suspected it was a recon mission of some kind against their clan, which Stotebranch agreed was possible, but without any real proof they could only tell First Star their suspicions. He was a hard worker and great on patrols. That is, until First Star's death. Even though he knows the Flash Flood wasn't his fault, having the leader lose her final life saving him left him feeling incredibly guilty, especially when seeing the grief within the clan that her death left. And although he became a warrior soon after and was honored for his wisdom, he felt like he didn't deserve any honors at all. However, that night, he was visited by a strange cat who claimed he could help Snowy Speckle and teach him how to be a true warrior. Snowy Speckle was desperate to prove himself to the clan and make up for First Star's death, and eagerly agreed to be the cat's trainee. Although he is still insecure, his skills in battle have grown in leaps and bounds through this tough training. He's gained a little confidence and a lot of respect for this mysterious cat who has given him the chance to be a better warrior. This confidence is also bolstered by a cat who he has been crushing on hard, specifically the next cat we're about to talk about. The 16-moon-old Shadebuzz, who is strange and fast as the wind. This cat was a ball of chaos from day one and spent his kithood demanding badger rides and getting nipped on the rump for being naughty. He was apprenticed to Ficklestar, and although he was a little nervous at first, his mentor bolstered his confidence a lot, especially after their first patrol where they shadowed a dog for an entire day, assuring HoundClan's safety together. His mentor always encouraged him, reminding him that he never had to be any cat other than himself. He really looks up to her a lot, and I think that, along with his incredibly supportive family, is why his insecure apprentice personality didn't stick around. He was honored for his hard work at his warrior ceremony and celebrated by jumping in puddles and leaping in the fallen leaves. And although he still messes up sometimes, such as when he accidentally followed his own paw prints, he never takes it too hard and tries to learn from failure. I think this is why he and Snowy Speckle click so well and have crushes on each other, because Shadebuzz knows exactly how it feels to be insecure about yourself and your abilities, and he's always there to encourage Snowy Speckle when he needs it, whether it be with his jokes or genuine heartfelt words. He never puts any pressure on the other cat, letting him go at his own pace. When he's not swooning over Snowy Speckle, he is singing his favorite songs, pretending to be a captured warrior for the kits, and of course jumping in leaves constantly. He really is Cherry Silk's kid, isn't he? Right after his brother is the 16-moon-old Grackle Swirl, who is responsible and a trusted advisor with steady paws. Compared to Shadebuzz, he was a very sweet kid who listened to adults well, not that this stopped him from arguing with his siblings every now and then. He was apprenticed to his mom, Jumble Talon, and was very excited about that. He caught a bird on his first patrol before it could fly away, and also helped bring moss to the Elder's Den. He really liked talking to the elders, and always asked them and the caretakers in the nursery if they needed anything before he left camp, something he still does to this day. He is quite a thoughtful cat, and fittingly was honored for his steadfastness at his warrior ceremony. He's continued to be a sweet and helpful cat, helping cats pick burrs and brambles out of their pelts, as well as rolling up moss balls for the kits. He is also apparently great at telling ghost stories, spinning tales that had many cats shivering in delighted fear. Interestingly, he also received a StarClan vision this year, having a dream that he was wandering aimlessly, until he stumbled upon blood speckled across the snowy landscape, then being startled awake. He isn't sure what this could mean. Neither did the cats who he told about it on patrol, but he fears it's a dangerous omen of things to come, and hopes to figure it out before anyone gets hurt. The last of the brothers is Bubbling Swan, who is 16 moons old, nervous, and an eloquent speaker. He was a sweet kit despite his anxieties, bringing herbs to the other kits when they weren't feeling well and pretending to fight badgers with Song Kid. He was apprenticed to Muddle Speckle and was very terrified to start his training, worried he would screw up right away and would have to fight scary cats. Thankfully, his patrol wasn't eventful. Instead, it was just him and his mentor watching an octopus in awe, marveling over how it could fit into such small crevices. He's not a fan of big storms, especially after the flash flood that killed Firstar, and tends to cower in his nest or under shelter whenever one happens. He tends to think long and hard about things before he acts, whether it be a possible fight or just what he wants to eat for dinner. Fittingly, he was honored for his strategy at his warrior ceremony. Since becoming a warrior, he's still a bit nervous, but seems to be a cat who is very calculating, such as when he tests out new ambush spots for prey or double-checks the clouds in the sky for a storm before he heads out on patrol. As of the end of the year, he's very happy to have new little siblings and volunteers to babysit them a lot, alongside his mentor's litter, hoping to help Muddle Speckle during her grief. And although he hasn't voiced it to any cat yet, he does feel a bit uneasy about Otterburst and Cinder Creek, but he doesn't know why. Part of him wants to believe it's just his nerves getting the better of him, but something in the back of his head is telling him that's not the case. He just wishes he could decide what to do with these dreadful feelings, but is also afraid of what it could all mean. Up next is Adderflash, who is 16 moons old, adventurous, and an unusually strong fighter with steady paws. She was a kit with a lot of audacity, often getting into trouble when she tried to follow patrols out of camp, and when that didn't work, sneaking out on her own. She was apprenticed to Floxheart, and they had an amazing first patrol where the young apprentice had to hunt down Floxheart, who was acting as an enemy warrior on their territory. When she found Floxheart, she had to stifle her chitters of excited pleasure. Floxheart definitely heard her because Adderpaw saw her whiskers twitch in amusement, but she gleefully charged for it anyway. She also tried, and failed, to catch an octopus by jumping on it, only to get smacked in the face by its tentacles and fall in the water. She seems to be a bit full of herself at times, such as when she was bragging to Sunpaw that her mentor was way better than his, or disagreeing with Wolverine Paw on patrol because she thought her idea was better. This has led to her being a bit stubborn, and it takes her a long time to actually ask cats for help or admit she's wrong. She was honored for her observance at her warrior ceremony and caught a terrifying amount of prey to celebrate, much to the glee of the clan. She is still quite stubborn, but works hard, whether that be checking on her clanmates or chasing dogs away from the clan. However, Wisteria Thrush and Stoatbranch's death has hit her hard. She loved both of them so much and was horrified when she heard of her brother's death. Then, far too soon after, she raced into the nursery to meet her new little siblings, only to learn her mother had died. She fled from her mother's body, running out into the territory as far as she could to escape the truth, and spraining her paw in the process. Since then, she has been in the healer's den, grieving and trying to deal with her complicated feelings about everything, wishing more than anything she could speak to her mom and brother one last time. As for her sister, the 16-moon-old Carpshard is troublesome, a den builder, and a great kit-sitter. She was apparently a very charming kit who often enjoyed debating other cats. I imagine about the best type of prey and which bugs were the coolest. She was apprenticed to Cedarmane, and they had a bit of trouble initially with her arrogant attitude, making them lose track of a fox on patrol when she stomped ahead without checking the scents, both of them grumbling and arguing all the way back to camp. Unfortunately, their training was interrupted after she got heat stroke, which she recovered from quickly, only to nearly drown when she tried to practice swimming alone, saved by pullback. Much like her sister, she is quite stubborn, but her stubbornness is a lot more reckless than Adderflash's. She seems to be a bit nicer than Adderflash, too, always willing to help cats behind in training catch up. Despite her injuries and illnesses, she was incredibly skilled and graduated on time, being honored for her cunning. But her glee was short-lived. Wisteria Thrush's death horrified her, especially since she herself nearly drowned. She knew how scary that felt and was devastated, begging StarClan to bring him back, but also cursing them for letting her brother die in such an awful way. Then she lost her mother, too. She is shaken by all the death in the clan and struggling with her grief, with a lot of her sadness and anger being misplaced on her new little siblings, who she avoids constantly. She snaps at a lot of cats and has been pushing herself hard, refusing to slow down at all. She's a mess right now, and I hope she can open up a bit more and learn how to deal with these feelings before they consume her. This poor family. Up next, we have Yellow Dawn, who is 15 moons old, childish, and an eloquent speaker. He was a sweet kit who always said pretty please whenever he wanted a badger ride and loved listening to stories from the older cats. He wriggled away from his mom, his pelt only half cleaned as he ran to his ceremony and was apprenticed to Cloud. He was eager to train, only to be disappointed when Cloud didn't seem to know what to do after suggesting they try new hunting techniques. What was he expecting, for Yellowpaw to lead the training or something? Thankfully, they found their groove after a little bit, and he was one of the main apprentices who snuck out with Weevilpaw often, and when they were caught, was ordered by his mentor and his mom to stay in camp. Weevilpaw tried to convince him to still sneak out, but he really didn't want to, and tried to stop Weevilpaw too, but she didn't listen. Weevilpaw's death weighed heavily on his conscience for a long time, as he felt like if he had gone with her, maybe she would have survived. So next time a bunch of apprentices snuck out, he followed them, and when they were attacked by rogues again, they were able to fight them off, but still got into a lot of trouble when they got back. He was devastated by Cloud's death, but continued to train hard in honor of him and was honored for his courage at his warrior ceremony. He seems a little bit lost now that he's a warrior and sort of tends to slack off until someone tells him what to do, with a lot of cats annoyed by his careless attitude. His mother did finally pull him aside and give him a long overdue talking to. Afterwards, while on a solo patrol, he realized that independence is a skill he needs to practice, just like everything else, and acknowledged he needs to put in work to get better. Since this was his last patrol of the year, we'll have to wait until next year to see if he puts the work in he needs to be more confident and independent, but here's to hoping. The 15-moon-old Sunsplash is right after her brother, and she is grumpy, a great hunter, and a learner of lore. Despite being unruly, she also seems to be rather shy, hiding in the nursery and being very quiet like her mom. She was apprenticed to Jinx and was immediately asking when they would go out to explore the territory. On their first patrol, Sunpaw and Jinx ruthlessly dispatched an octopus, paws squishing through the very squishy squish. Her mentor was very strict and hard to impress, but Sunpaw still respected her a lot, which led her to not being a very big fan of Adderflash, who she saw as very full of herself. The training seemed to work very well despite that, as she caught an incredible amount of prey, and despite being a grump, is still very kind and gave Bubbling Paw her own mouse after they missed a catch. Interestingly, her mother Billowhowl walked in her dreams one night. I think that was her encouraging her daughter to open up a bit more, hoping to help her make friends. And she actually did, as she was a part of that apprentice-only patrol that fought off the rogues. She was honored for her hard work at her warrior ceremony and has mellowed out a little bit. Much like her mother, Ficklestar, she can seem very cold and unapproachable, but is a nice cat, albeit a bit blunt and quick to snap back. She's also very quiet and tends to only speak up when she feels like she has to, such as to bluntly call out cats who are saying something rude. She also seems to have a soft spot for kits, always bringing back any treasures she finds for them to decorate their nests. She really loves her mom and siblings, who are some of the few cats she openly shows affection for, such as encouraging Roach Twist's garden and crafting skills, or plotting with Yellow Dawn to get their mom and Flock's heart together. I think Sunsplash may be my favorite of the siblings. She cares a lot, but really doesn't like to show it, and that's adorable to me. Can't wait to see what she gets up to next year. Up next is the last survivor of the Snufkin family, Song Swirl, who is 13 moons old, loyal, and a lore master. However, for her, I imagine that the lore she specifically cultivates is the songs that exist within HoundClan, whether those be new ones or old ones she learned from her mom. She was a shy kid who needed a lot of encouragement to open up, but once she did, she had a blast getting badger rides from Daisy Spike and play fighting with the other kits. She was devastated to lose Wander Kit, and as she was apprenticed to Hayflood, couldn't help but wonder if this was truly the right path for her. On her first patrol, she was still mourning her brother, and so they took it slow, simply practicing hunting techniques, but Hayflood was still very impressed, and she returned to camp fluffed up with pride. She found a close friend in both Wolverine Paw and Sunpaw, and was part of the apprentice-only patrol that chased off the rogues. She was a bit embarrassed for being in trouble, but proud nonetheless. Unfortunately, she lost her mom too and was heartbroken. She clung to her mother's body, singing their songs and wishing more than anything she could hear Snufkin's voice one more time. She inherited her mother's scarf too, but didn't start wearing it right away, instead keeping it in her nest and hoping to keep Snufkin's smell around her for as long as possible. Soon after, one of her best friends, Wolverine Paw, also disappeared, and she was terrified that they'd find his body next. But when they didn't, she grew even more worried. Was he okay? Was he alive out there? She wishes she knew. She's thrown herself into work, chasing off rogues and catching prey, spending her free time singing songs and learning new ones. Song Swirl was honored for her reliability at her warrior ceremony and hoped her family was proud of her from up in StarClan. I feel so bad that she lost so much so soon, and I really hope next year is more kind to her. She deserves that much. The last of our warriors is the 12-moon-old half-ghost who is troublesome, quick to help, and a good hunter. Her hearing issues were discovered by the time she was 1 moon old when she got sick as a young kit, and she quickly found herself being coddled by both her parents. She enjoyed learning the clan sign language, especially since the whole family was there with her. But as time went by, she noticed her brother pulling away. She tried to reach out to Wolverine Paw, but he pushed her away, even purposefully turning and storming out before she could sign to him. This, combined with the way that Kestrel and Hayflood acted towards him, made Halfpaw bitter towards her brother. She didn't really understand why he acted the way he did, nor why he took it out on her. She did, however, grow more and more frustrated with her parents constantly babying her. Getting apprenticed to Pine Patch was like a breath of fresh air. Her mentor treated her like a normal cat and understood more than anyone how it felt to have clanmates tiptoe around you. Unfortunately, her first patrol was a rough one, with her mentor and her finding a dead kitty pet by the Thunderpath. It was her first time facing death so close, but she noticed her mentor's gaze and realized that Pine Patch could see the ghost of the kitty pet. She asked her mentor to tell the poor cat she was sorry. She's grown a fascination with death since then, and enjoys collecting skulls and little dead things and hearing more about ghosts from her mentor. She's also an incredibly skilled warrior and excelled in her training and ended up graduating early, being honored for her gallantry. Her parents were there for her, congratulating her by catching her favorite prey, but her brother was nowhere to be found. She was so angry that he wouldn't show up for such an important moment. When she finally saw him again, they had a huge argument where she snapped and declared that it wasn't her fault their parents didn't love him. She realized how awful what she signed was the second she saw the tears in Wolverine Paw's eyes, but it was too late. Wolverine Paw ran away. She hoped he would calm down and come back so she could apologize, but he never did. She felt horrible, and that feeling only grew worse when she told Kestrel and realized that neither them nor their father had even noticed Wolverine Paw was gone. She called them horrible parents and practically disowned them. When she isn't doing her warrior duties now, she's searching for her brother, at one point even nearly dying in a landslide while searching far off in the territory. Still, she's had no luck. Sometimes she asks Pine Patch if she has seen Wolverine Paw's ghost. Not because she wants her brother to be dead, not at all, but she just wants closure, answers, something. More than anything, though, what she wants is a chance to apologize to him, and a chance to make up for lost time. On to our apprentices, which we only have one of this year. It's the 6-moon-old Needlepaw, who is daring and a picky nest builder. She is the youngest of Plumeria and Cleaver's kits, and definitely takes after both of them. She is the chaos of Plumeria, but is a bit of a grump, just like Cleaver. Some of her pranks do definitely seem to be a bit more spirited than others, such as when she trips cats and claims it was an accident. But she looks up to several cats who I do think are good role models, like Cherry Silk, Grackle Swirl, and especially her big brother Chestnut Fang. Which is why she was super excited when her big brother ended up being her mentor, and she was already imagining all the cool things they would do. However, during their first patrol together, after some hunting, she ended up telling her brother about a StarClan vision, describing an intimidating gray cat who promised to help her become a powerful warrior. For some reason, her brother seemed quite worried about the cat she described, and sat her down, warning her that this was not a StarClan cat and was very dangerous, and that she should avoid him at all costs. She agreed in the moment, but secretly she isn't sure if she'll listen to her brother's orders. The cat had already taught her quite a few skills after all, and Snowy Speckle joins them in the trainings too, and he's really strong. Surely it couldn't be that bad if she kept going to these secret training sessions, right? On to our elders, we're starting with the 142-moon-old Furs, who had a really rough start to this year. Although Spotted Stripe's death was expected, she was still devastated to lose her last living kit. Afterwards, she was thinking about how too many cats die young and was sleeping a lot. She found it easier than having to try and pretend to be happy. Thankfully, a lot of cats were there for her during this. Ivy Dusk would tell her stories, and her fellow elders, as well as First Star, comforted her a lot, all of them understanding grief all too well. She struggled a lot after the deaths of First Star and Flower Patch too, and said some harsh things to Plumeria in the moment, but she apologized soon after, and the two of them thankfully made up. Since then, she is still grieving, but has been slowly getting better. She's found joy in taking little walks outside of camp, finding nice napping spots, as well as chatting with nearby kitty pets. She also finds the amount of kits in camp right now awesome, as there's always a need of a babysitter and she is more than willing to volunteer. She's also been very helpful for cats like Laurel Flood, Otterburst, Muddlespeckle, and Duskfeather, knowing the grief of losing your family all too well and helping them through it. As of the end of the year, while she's still grieving her lost loved ones, watching the clan continue to grow has made her glad she's been around long enough to see it. And she knows her family will be awaiting her in StarClan, so she doesn't mind sticking around for however many moons she has left if it means helping out the younger cats whenever she can. Last but definitely not least is the 116-moon-old Plumeria, who has been having a pretty great year. Not only are her kits doing amazing, but she's also a grandma now, which she is super happy about. She's always looking out for other cats, including continuing her nursery duties, helping out the other caretakers by looking after their kits for a bit so they can stretch their legs and take a break. The death of many cats hurt her this year, especially losing her fellow old ladies Flower Patch and Fur Star, as well as her grand kit Peach Kit. It hurt to lose them, and it hurt even more to have Furs snap at her, but she dealt with grief a lot at this point and focused more on comforting her daughter after the loss of her child. She's also been distracted a lot by many cats coming to her with their strange dreams and visions, leaving her with a lot of prophecies that she's trying to unravel. Unfortunately, near the end of the year, she did end up getting caught in the illness that swept through the clan and is currently ill with white cough. She doesn't mind that much, using the time to talk about her visions with cats who probably know more about them than she does, as well as watching her kits proudly from afar. I would be lying if I said I wasn't worried, though. White cough can be so deadly for elders, and I hope it doesn't take my favorite old lady from us too soon. I want her to stick around a little longer, especially considering the prophecies going around the clan right now. Her family and the clan need her. Hopefully she gets to hang out for a few more years, but only time will tell. And that's all for HoundClan this year. A lot of chaos, death, and drama, just like I promised. But we're not done yet. Let's check in on the other 4 clans and see what they've been up to. First up, we have Grub Clan's leader, Mudstar, who is now 135 moons old and has had a really rough year. While the clan has been mostly doing alright, there were several deaths, including one on her own patrol, and her age has definitely been catching up to her. She's been dealing with ticks, sprained her paw badly, and she thought she could rely on Hickory Gorse to help her, but then her deputy turned out to have a secret mate in Ridge Clan who he ran away to be with. She's not having a great year and hopes her new deputy will be able to be more reliable. This new deputy is the 75-moon-old Snapdragon Creek, who is compassionate and a good hunter. Although she's a bit nervous about her new position, she's a very competent cat, a terrifying hunter who always brings back lots of prey and oversees the tunnel construction very closely. She's also a very strong fighter, chasing off a group of rogues all on her own. She seems like a great choice for a deputy, too. Here's hoping for a future Snapdragon star. Unfortunately, the 143-moon-old Smoke Bumble has had a terrible year. He was quite overwhelmed taking care of the clan, often coming back sore and cold. He apparently sought comfort outside the clan for the stress and surprised everyone by returning to camp with 3 kits, refusing to talk about their origins. Unfortunately, this poor guy lost 2 out of 3 of those kits, a tragedy that hurts my heart a lot. He keeps his last kit very close, which is pretty easy because his son, the 6-moon-old Mistpaw, is the new healer apprentice. Losing his 2 siblings so soon hurt him a lot, but he found comfort in his dad and a warrior named Scrubsplash, who was his favorite babysitter, and gave him the cicada wings he wears on his pelt. So far, his dad hasn't taught him much, often bedridden with his grief, but they have tended to the burial grounds together, something I think brought them both a bit of comfort after everything. Here's to hoping for a better year for both of them. As for Oak Clan, the 60-moon-old Red Star has been keeping to herself this year, preferring to patrol solo and getting a bit anxious around too many cats, especially gatherings. Although she does get along pretty good with Fickle Star, both of them understanding the struggle of being leaders with low social batteries. She still patrols with her clanmates occasionally and leads very well when she does. Unfortunately, on one of her solo patrols, she was attacked by a dog and her tail was badly injured, a wound that is now still infected, and she's not doing good at all. Here's hoping she can recover next year. Sunny Speckle is now 109 moons old and doesn't seem to be enjoying deputyship that much, feeling quite overworked, especially in the wake of Red Star's injuries, even going to bed early so she can wake up early to get more work done. Thankfully, she's gotten a few breaks, such as the time she explored a new ambush spot and another patrol where they found a nice sunspot and accidentally fell asleep. But truthfully, I think she can't wait to retire. She's too old to become leader and dreams of the day she can be an elder telling stories, but she doesn't want to retire while Red Star is injured, so she'll just have to wait for better timing and keep up her workload until then. Speaking of cats yearning for retirement, the 150-moon-old Burnet Wish is desperate to retire, but not a single kit has shown interest in becoming a healer apprentice. She can feel herself slowing down and grows more exhausted by the day, especially during Leaf Bear. She also finally realized who Kestrel was, warning them to be careful, as WhisperClan is not known to let sleeping dogs lie. But truthfully, she doesn't want to get involved at all. She just wants a dang apprentice for the love of StarClan. Up next is RidgeClan, and oh boy, Shining Star. She's 129 moon old and is officially an elder, but seems to have no plans to retire from leadership, even taking on another apprentice to prove it. She was very satisfied after GrubClan's deputy joined her clan, but forced him through a lot of trials to prove his loyalty. The tension between those two clans is heavy right now. Then, feeling threatened by a younger, outspoken cat who could possibly challenge her, Shining Star murdered them by pushing them in front of a car. She doesn't even seem to regret this at all, and while she hasn't outright confessed to her actions, every cat kinda knows and has been tiptoeing around her, terrified of being her next victim. Unfortunately for the clan, the 125-moon-old Bat Rush is not the type of cat her clan can rely on to stop Shining Star's tyrannical actions. She's too scared to stand up to her leader and tends to enable her out of fear, telling the rest of the clan to just do what she says for their sake. Considering her age, I sincerely doubt she would ever become leader. I think Shining Star is simply keeping her in the position because she's an easy cat to control. Whether or not she's aware of this, I'm not sure, but either way, she's more than willing to let other cats get hurt if it means keeping herself safe from Shining Star's wrath. As for the 132-moon-old Cindertail, she is not okay with this situation at all. She knows very well what Shining Star did, being warned by the victim from StarClan. However, she's afraid to act herself. She has no apprentice. What if Shining Star kills her and leaves the clan without anyone to heal them? While she can't act openly, she can conspire with other cats to ask for help. She has sent Foxtrot Feather, a cat who had visions like hers, to the other clans to warn them of Shining Star's actions and prepare them for the death and destruction prophesied by StarClan. She can only hope that they don't get caught, for the sake of the rest of RidgeClan. Now for some huge drama in WhisperClan, we're not starting with the leader, we're starting with someone else. None other than the 12-moon-old Wolverine Claw, who is cold and an eloquent speaker. Yep, that's right, Wolverine Claw joined WhisperClan. But let's back up a bit and start at the beginning. Nearly right away in HoundClan, Wolverine Kit was neglected by his parents, and a feeling of bitterness quickly began to grow. He was angry at his parents, and the anger quickly transferred to his sister, too. She got all the attention, and she just had to be great at everything she did, too. Anytime she approached him, he got so angry and sad he would just storm off. And although many cats tried to reach out to him, and some did genuinely help, he just never felt good enough. Kestrel's continuous neglect and Hayflood's enabling and excuses hurt, but it was Half-Ghost's harsh words after her warrior ceremony that pushed him over the edge. Although his memories of that time were fuzzy, he did remember meeting his grandmother a few times and ran back to that meeting spot. Luckily she was there, and he begged to join her clan. He was accepted with open arms, and Wishstar personally finished his training herself. He was honored for his candor at his warrior ceremony and immediately was given an apprentice. He was ecstatic. It was the attention and respect and love he'd been seeking this whole time, and he feels more loyalty to WhisperClan than he ever did for HoundClan. There is nowhere he'd rather be than in WhisperClan, and Wishstar has revealed to him that he will be attending the next gathering, an event where he will finally face his family again, and he can't wait to show them just how much better he's doing without them. As for the 126-moon-old Wishstar, she's down to 2 lives now after a fight with a rogue, but that hasn't slowed her down at all. In fact, she is more than satisfied with how things have gone. Her child has refused again and again to rejoin her clan. She was debating on how to retaliate when she stumbled upon Wolverine Paw at the border, begging to join WhisperClan. And what better revenge than that? Her grandson was easy to manipulate after Kestrel's failures. She's training him to be the next great leader after her, ensuring that he already has an apprentice and that he is further poisoned against his family in preparation for the next gathering. There, she will give her child one last chance to make the right choice. But either way, in her mind, Wishstar has already won. As for Rhymeberry, he is now 71 moons old and has been an excellent and loyal deputy this year. However, the arrival of Wolverine Claw has left him feeling very threatened. WhisperClan has always been a hereditary clan, but he hoped he would have a chance at leadership after Kestrel ran away. But now, with the arrival of Wolverine Claw, who already has an apprentice, he can feel his time running out, and now his loyalty to Wishstar is battling against his hatred of Wolverine Claw and his desire for leadership and legacy. Only time will tell what decision he makes. As for Snapdragon Step, she is 163 moons old now and is having a rough time with everything going on. She's been struggling, especially without any apprentice, and has been worried with all the signs from StarClan, along with the arrival of Wolverine Claw, a cat who reminds her far too much of his parent, but also his grandmother. She's terrified for the future, especially with the upcoming gathering, and fears what this may mean, not just for the future of Kestrel, but for the future of the peace between their clans. And that's all for year 7. Oh my goodness, I thought this year would be chill, but instead we have a new leader, everybody's got drama, the Dark Forest cats are acting up, and we have multiple murders. What is happening? Let me know who your favorite cat is, though, and if you have any name ideas for the new kits and apprentices. I'd love to hear your thoughts now that I've finally been able to share the drama of this year with you all. It's crazy out here, but we're gonna have to wait until year 8 to see what happens next. Rebel Clan Year 7 is up next, so get ready for that. That might be crazy too, considering everything this clan's been up to. Until then, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing. Remember to take care of yourselves, grab some popcorn for next year's gathering, and have a good day.